Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the State of Science Fiction, episode 11. It feels like I just recorded an episode not too long ago. Oh, wait, I did. And very fortunately, my good friend Thomas from Thomas Writes decided to show up, and he's like, I want to be on the show. And I'm like, well, do you got opinions on science fiction? And he's like, yes, I do. And I'm like, all right, then you're good to go. So, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Happy to be on your channel again. And yeah, science fiction is the genre I talk about the most on my own channel, and is probably the genre of fiction I'm most passionate about. So figured this would be a perfect time for a discussion.
Yeah, it definitely was. I remember we were trying to figure this out, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna be." You're like, "I'm gonna be busy in August, so you want to do like September, or we could do like late July if you want." And I was like, "Yeah, we can do late July. That's fine. I can just upload this during the first couple weeks of August, which is coming up in, as of the recording of this video, 7 days. That's weird. It feels like this year has just flown by."
It really has. It's crazy. We are over halfway through the year already.
Also, I see you got the Alien merch on. We kind of went over this before the video happened, but I see you got the
Yes.
merch on. I respect it.
And for anyone who doesn't see, this is for Alien 3 specifically. In my personal opinion, the most underrated film in the franchise. And I have two whole videos I made on my channel
Yeah, I need to
about that
watch it
movie.
again after watching your video. I'm like, God, I need to watch Alien 3 again.
For anyone who hasn't seen it, I would highly recommend you watch the assembly cut specifically, because that adds so much more context to all of the characters. It adds so much more of the themes and just the ideas that Fincher was originally going for in that
Mm.
movie.
Doesn't a chest burster come out of like a cow in that movie? In the
Yes,
assembly
it
cut?
does.
It's like, God, that's just wrong.
It gets pretty messed up, but
It's worse. Like, I think there's also another cut where like a dog, it happens to a dog. I'm like, what's wrong with you, David Fincher? My God,
yes, yes, that's the funny
it's
thing is
disgusting.
in the theatrical cut it's a dog, in the
Ugh.
assembly cut it's an ox. At least the ox was already dead. In the
Yeah, that's good.
theatrical cut the dog was alive, so it's
Oh man, that's
pretty rough.
yeah. Jeez, David Fincher. Um, but yeah, so we're here today doing State of Science Fiction once again. But yeah, Thomas, thanks for coming on. This is fun. Always enjoy our chats.
Of course, pleasure to be here.
I guess I should stop, beating around the bush here. But I guess we should just get into the episode here. But I generally like to be a little more. I mean, I know you watched some of the episodes because I showed you some of them before this, but I like to keep this not like structured, but I like to have I have questions to keep. It's a bit more structured than my usual long form content. I'll just say that.
Sure, sure.
So yeah, I have a couple questions here that I want to ask. So first question I have for you today, which is a pretty good one. What, in your opinion, makes a great science fiction story?
Ooh, there's so many angles you could go at that from. I think what makes a great science fiction story is, I think on one hand, I think good science fiction has some relatable quality to our current day in some
Mm-hmm.
form or fashion, whether
Mm-hmm.
that be the politics, whether that be the technology itself, whether that be the themes. I think great science fiction has at least some relevance to whatever era it is being written in.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it can be done in more subtle and skilled ways, and it can be done in very hammy and over the top ways. But generally speaking, I think good science fiction, it speaks to something that is timeless, that can speak to multiple generations for sure.
That's a good answer. I mean, I don't know what I don't know what to expect from when I ask this question. That's kind of why I ask it. It's kind of an open enough question to give people wiggle room. But that's actually a good answer. I like that.
Well, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I just think of some of my favorite examples. I think Heinlein did a great job of this. I think Arthur C. Clarke did a really good job of this. I think George Orwell did a really great job at this. Obviously, you can debate if 1984 is truly science fiction or more just speculative fiction in general. But I would say those are some examples of authors that
You
did
could
a
argue
really
either
good
way.
job at that. Yeah, I think so.
Though I kind of find speculative fiction anyway is kind of like the all-encompassing, like fantasy and like supernatural horror and like and science fiction. It's all together, Basically any, speculative what could happen that's beyond our understanding, if you will.
Totally, totally. I think another example too would be taking it out of the realm of books. I think Star Trek in its heyday did a really good job of this as well. It's obviously very far out there in terms of its technology and concepts, but the themes that it deals with around prejudice, around warfare, around just politics in general, and some of the technologies
Discovery, if you will.
Discovery, yes. And then some of the technologies in Star Trek, like the video phones and things like that, we now
That's
flat
what we're
out
doing
have
right
today. Yeah.
And Roddenberry and his group of writers were onto something. That's all I'll say.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I actually was reading something because I'm reading a bit of a non sequitur, but it's part of the conversation about science fiction here. But I'm reading Malzahn right now. I'm reading Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson. Well, Steven Erikson's a big Star Trek fan. He wrote like a letter on Reddit to some people who are making a new Star Trek show about why he thinks Star Trek is pretty awesome. So it was interesting reading that.
I'll bet. Yes, I know that. I think it's Richard at Tudor Ramble is a really big Next Generation fan.
Oh,
and
yeah?
so I'm hoping that they talk about it on the show in some capacity, even though they're more book oriented. I do think that would be a fun discussion for them.
My favorite Star Trek is Deep Space Nine. I love Deep Space Nine a lot.
I haven't seen Deep Space Nine. Everybody swears by it though.
Is really good. Like I'll say it does kind of peter out towards the end, but man, like that, like building up to it is really great.
I'm sure, because Next Generation would probably be my personal favorite of the Star Trek iterations.
Yeah, if I recall, I think Cisco is on Next Generation. He's the captain in Deep Space Nine.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it's interesting, like, what makes a great science fiction story, because I kind of think of science fiction as, like, different things. Like, you said it's very much about speculating about where we could go, but also, I kind of view it kind of as a foil of sorts to fantasy, because, fantasy is about not necessarily the past, but necessarily the I think it was either Rod Serling or someone who said science fiction is about the improbable made possible, and fantasy is about the impossible made probable. So I think that's a good enough way to describe it.
That is interesting, because I have heard, and I can't remember who originally said this quote, but it was something along the lines of fantasy is generally more concerned about the past and sci-fi is more concerned about the future.
I've heard that as well, yeah.
And obviously there are things that do blur that line. Like, Dune and Star Wars, I think, are really good examples of properties that kind of blur that line between sci-fi and fantasy.
Barsoom.
What's that?
Barsoom, which is like very old pulp science fiction about
Gotcha.
John Carter of Mars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They made a movie of it a few years ago, which actually was not terrible, believe it or not.
I've heard the movie is actually decent.
I liked it anyway. It just bombed because nobody gave it crap.
Yes, I've got a whole collection of the John Carter novels.
I should have just said John Carter of Mars. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. When you said Barsoom, I had
that's what
no
they call
idea
Mars.
What you were talking about.
That's what they call Mars in those stories.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense. But yeah,
Yeah,
I need
John
to
Carter
get
of
to
Mars
those.
is mainly what I was talking about. But yeah, no, I mean, though I kind of think it's in that vein where science fiction and fantasy have blended a bit. Because it's basically sword and sorcery on Mars. But anyway, but yeah, no, I kind of think of science fiction in another way that is kind of like a mythologization of the future. I don't know if that's a word, but that's what I'll go with. I don't know what you think of this.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good example of what you're referring to. I mean, I think the first one that comes to my mind is 2001: A Space Odyssey. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, good grief, even in the title, it is very clearly alluding to we are trying to create almost this mythological epic like the Odyssey,
Mm-hmm.
but set in space, and it's dealing with, potential things about the future and whatnot.
Yeah, my friend Livia is trying to get me to read the 2001 book, and I'm like, ah, man, like, I just like the movie's so good. Like, I don't know, man. I like
The
Arthur C. Clarke though. Childhood's
Yeah.
End is a phenomenal book.
Mm. This might sell you on the book, though. The book was written concurrently to the film,
I've heard that.
so
Yeah.
it's way more closely aligned with its
Oh, okay.
adaptation than some other examples out
I'll
there.
probably pick it up then at some point
There we
because
go.
I'm leaning in 2026. I'm probably gonna catch up on science fiction because I haven't really been reading a lot of it lately. I've been
Gotcha,
kind of
gotcha.
slacking on the sci-fi. I've been slacking, if you will.
Mm, gotcha.
I guess that brings me to my next question, which kind of a bit more personal, but it's kind of in the same vein here. But what do you find so compelling about science fiction as a genre? Like what
Mm.
keeps you coming back?
I mean, on an aesthetic level, I
Mm-hmm.
just love sci-fi as an aesthetic. I've always been fascinated, in particular, with space. I think the cosmos are so infinitely fascinating. It blows my mind that for as far advanced as our technology is, they say we see less than 1% of what we believe the known universe to be. So,
Mm-hmm.
of course, that in and of itself gets your mind racing with all kinds of possibilities. Um, so I love that idea of discovery and, the whole thing about space being the final frontier of
Yeah.
what all could be out there. We don't know.
Or at its worst, nobody can hear you scream.
Right, exactly. And which points to another thing I like about science fiction, which is the variety of
That's
directions you
true.
can go
Yeah.
with it. You can make something more pulpy and lighthearted, or you could go for something more existential, fearful, horrific. There's a
To
lot
say
of
like
different ways you can go with
existentially
it.
terrifying, that'll make you
Hmm.
like look up at the stars, and be like, oh, do we really mean anything in the grand scheme of things? No, it's
Exactly. It was I think it actually was Arthur C. Clarke who said either humanity is alone in the universe or it isn't, and both possibilities are equally terrifying.
yeah. I was about to say, yeah. I think that was Arthur C. Clarke who said that. Which that's a good point. I try not to be as pessimistic as that sounds, but yeah.
Same, same.
It's I get where he's coming from though, is what I'll say.
Hmm.
That's what I'll get at. um I mean, for me, I always say like I'm really fascinated with the future, like where we're gonna go as a species,
Mm-hmm.
And I think science fiction is um, a good vessel for that because I don't know if we're gonna get like spaceships that'll be like the Enterprise, if you will. I don't know if we're gonna get that. I mean, that would be fun if we got one of those, but I
That
don't know
would
if
be
that's gonna
very cool.
happen. That would be pretty awesome, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. But I'm really fascinated with like how we're going to grow as a species, where what we're
Hmm.
gonna do. I guess kind of we're kind of in a weird spot right now because we're kind of in the future as we speak of it. We're
Hmm.
doing this. We have those weird Tesla cars. I see them everywhere now. Uh, Elon Musk is trying to get us into space. Or well, we already got to space, but he's trying to like
get us even farther.
Even further in space. Basically trying to do what funnily enough, kind of going back to 2001. He's basically trying to do the whole those people who are just like vacationing in space. He's trying to do that basically.
Right, exactly. Yes, it's so fascinating because, on the one hand, there is stuff, like you said, like the Enterprise, that's like, okay, we're probably maybe even hundreds of years from that level. But certain other stuff, like without getting too much into this can of worms, but all of the science fiction revolving around AI is becoming way more relevant to our current age than it was in the past. Stuff like Blade Runner and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I'm saving that for the next question, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
There we go.
I get what you're saying. But yeah, no, I'm really fascinated. I mean, I don't know if I would say I'm like a futurologist or anything who like I like intensely study the future or anything like that, but I do think I'm fascinated how human nature will react to the future, if that makes sense.
Totally. It is very interesting for sure. Yeah, and obviously there's a lot of different possibilities out there.
Indeed, it's you don't know what we're gonna run into in the near future. I mean, maybe we'll run into things like the Romulans or the hopefully not the Ferengi, because I think the Ferengi are really annoying. But anyway, hopefully not the Ferengi, but
or xenomorphs.
Or xenomorphs. You know what? I can deal with a Ferengi. If a xenomorph came, we're screwed.
Yes, and not to speculate too much on this front, but maybe that's one of the reasons I like the Alien franchise so much is when you speculate about extraterrestrial life, I do think something like a xenomorph, where it's more animalistic and more primal, is more likely something we would run across than a intelligent species that is on the same level or even exceeds humanity in its level.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I don't know, because I've always been really kind of going with the science fiction theme here, but I've always been kind of fascinated with like UFOs and stuff. I mean, I don't know how legit it is, but I've always been really interested. Like, could there be like intelligent life out there? I mean, I my kind of answer is there has to be, but either they haven't found us yet, or there's always those jokes where like aliens show up and they just see how crazy we are, and like, yeah, I'm not touching that.
Right. Yeah, I'm someone.
But you know what? That might be better than we thought, actually.
That's true. It might be better if we don't run into each other.
Like, you know what? They're shooting at each other already. We'll just back off and let them do their thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, not to sound too much like a tinfoil hat wearer, but I definitely would not close myself off to the possibility of there being other life in the universe, simply to the fact that the universe is so huge and we see so little of it. Now the probability of two intelligent species running into each other, I mean, that's probably very low just because of how expansive the universe is, but who knows? I do think it's an open question.
For sure, yeah, it's that's I don't know. That's all I'll say. Kind of an agnostic on the issue, but I'm leaning towards there has to be. I don't know if it's going to be like green men running around or like gray people running around, but though I've kind of imagined like maybe like the aliens would be like microorganisms or something. I don't know.
Right.
Now I'm getting into tinfoil hat territory.
I mean, even NASA scientists have speculated that beneath the surface of Europa there might be something, just because the moon of Europa, they believe there's an ocean underneath this huge thick layer of ice. And if that's the case, maybe there's something down in there. I don't know.
I don't know either. Not hilarious. I always say this, but funnily enough, as much as I enjoy science fiction, I'm not a big science guy.
Yeah,
though I don't think you need to be a science guy to appreciate science fiction. Though I imagine it helps.
Oh, totally.
I mean, some of the best writers in science fiction were were scientifically. I don't know if all of them were scientifically trained. Some of them definitely were, like, Isaac Asimov, definitely.
Hmm.
But I think it helps.
Definitely. I was just about to say one of my favorite science fiction books is The Forever War,
Hmm.
and the author Joe Haldeman, I believe he has a PhD in physics.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
so that's why in that book you can really tell when he describes like the theorizing about interstellar travel,
Isn't
he
that about
really gets into the sci-fi of
isn't that
the
about
science of it.
time dilation?
Yes, yes, it is a big aspect of that book. So it was very ahead of its time because that book was written back in the 70s. So it was pretty ahead of its time in terms of talking about, yeah, time dilation when you go X amount of speed for X number of distance, how time functions on Earth versus elsewhere in the universe.
Yeah, I'm always kind of picky with science fiction because like a lot of it is really pulpy at times, which like
Hmm.
that's not a bad thing. But like some of it is like bad pulpy, if you will, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
totally.
And I've seen like covers of the Forever War, and I'm like, I don't know. But I've heard people like you and my friend Livia really enjoys it. So I definitely would like to try it someday. Maybe next year, if like while I'm catching up on sci-fi, I can finally mark that one off the list of classic sci-fi I haven't read. But um,
Totally.
but yeah, maybe. But I've heard some people who are friends of mine who really like it, so I was like, all right, maybe I'll give it a try. You actually talked to him, didn't you? You met Joe Haldeman.
I did, yes. That was one of the first. I actually think that might have been the first interview I ever did on my channel was with Joe Haldeman and his wife, and that was a great experience because the book affected me on a very personal level. My review of the book is still the best performing video on my channel, and so to talk to Joe and for them to comment that they enjoyed my review also, that was awesome. That was one of the best experiences I've had on YouTube through my journey with my channel for sure.
That's very cool. Wasn't he also a veteran? Wasn't that why he
Yes,
wrote it?
yes.
If I recall,
Hmm.
I think he like fought in Vietnam or something. I think I read that somewhere.
Correct. Yes. So you definitely see that in the book for sure. It is very heavily influenced by his experiences in Vietnam, and of course his physics degree really helped him with the
Yeah.
the science of it. So it's just to me it's like a perfect science fiction book because you get the scientific aspect, you get the political commentary, you get a good character study, and if you just read it as a pulpy sci-fi book, it works on that level too.
Yeah, I mean, I've only read a few like military science fiction, as some of the people call it. Like, I like Starship Troopers, the
Yes.
original book, and the movie's a lot of fun too. Even though it's
Yes.
it's not really true to the book intentionally, so because Verhoeven
Right.
read it and like this is dumb. I'm gonna just make fun of this.
Yes.
I'm just gonna make
It's
fun of my impression of the book, is what he said, and it's actually kind of interesting.
oh, it is for
Verhoeven's
sure.
Verhoeven's an interesting director because like he somehow
Hmm.
manages to do like camp and like satire, and he puts it together, and I'm like, how does this work?
Yes, he's got such a unique voice because yeah,
Yes.
RoboCop, Total Recall, and Starship Troopers, his kind of unofficial trilogy of sci-fi movies. I love all three of those for
Hmm.
different reasons.
Yeah, it was actually Total Recall, which introduced me to Philip K. Dick. even
Ah, there
though,
we go.
even though we can remember it for you wholesale, which is what the original story is called, is a little different from the movie. Not as
Hmm.
actiony.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, because I think in the short story also he is an accountant. Because
Yeah.
that was something they actually changed for the movie. Was originally they were going to get Richard Dreyfuss to play the lead, but then when they cast Arnold, they changed the character to a construction worker because no one would believe that Arnold was this jacked attorney that then goes on this big shoot 'em up
That
adventure.
yeah. It was kind of funny. I kind of thought at first that the guy who plays like his coworker was like a um was like Danny DeVito at first. I'm like, no, it's not Danny DeVito. And I'm
He
like,
kind of looks like him
kind
a
of
bit,
looks
yeah.
like him. Yeah. And then I'm like, is Bob No, it's not Bob Hoskins either. It's some other guy who
No.
kind of looks like him though. Poor guy. Probably was like, are you Danny DeVito? And he's like, no. I think I realized it wasn't Danny DeVito because I'm like, he's a little taller than Danny DeVito.
Yes, yes. But his
No.
voice is very similar,
Yeah.
and he looks very similar,
Yeah, that's true. They could play brothers in a movie.
probably.
But yeah, no, it's I enjoyed Total Recall. Though I think RoboCop's the best movie he made. I have a
That's-
soft spot for RoboCop.
Oh, I love RoboCop also. I actually was just literally yesterday was playing the video game RoboCop Rogue City.
Oh,
and
really?
That,
Oh,
that is a really fun game.
not bad. Yeah. Yeah, it's it's a fun it's an enjoyable movie. It's also really dark at times. I remember
Oh yeah.
I watched
oh,
it
yeah.
again a few years ago and I'm
it's
like, damn,
morbid.
this is gritty as hell.
Yes, it is. It's so funny because again, Paul
Because
Verhoeven,
again, it's
he
kind of
just
campy at
writes that line.
times.
Mhm.
Especially with like the delivery of like Peter Weller, you know, sometimes he's like, move quietly or there will be trouble. You know, it's like,
Mhm.
okay, that's pretty campy. But like there's other parts where like they just shoot him to death and you're just like, geez, that is very raw.
Yes. Yeah, it's so funny. Apparently that original scene too was cut down because in test screenings the original scene was just so horrific that people walked out of the theater that they were just so put off by it. So apparently even the version we get in the finished product is cut down
Oh, man.
from what they originally shot.
Well, if it
No
makes
pun
people who
intended.
walked out feeling better, he does get revenge on them later on.
He does, and they all get pretty messed up. They get fitting comeuppances.
Like one like turns into like a weird like mutant zombie straight out of Fallout and he just gets ran over.
Yes.
And he explodes. Oh man. No, but yeah, a bit of the digression, but yeah, what do I find compelling about science fiction? It's also fun. I enjoy like
Oh,
you
yeah.
said, I like the stuff. You can get starships and stuff like that.
Oh yes, yep. You can do so many cool things with the aesthetic for sure, from the spaceships to the way they film space, even in different movies. I just recently went through the old Superman movies in preparation for the new one,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I love the look of the original 78 movie, the way they depict space.
Mhm.
It's not realistic, but
No,
it
no.
looks so cool. I
Yeah.
love the colors.
It's kind of
and
funny.
the way
I
they depict it.
was watching through the original 78 Superman the other day, and there's a part where he like flies off, and you can kind of tell he gets like yanked off the ground.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You can definitely see the effects work. You can see
Yeah.
behind the curtain a little bit.
Which, you know, I mean, it's not bad. It's 1978, and it's still, I think it holds up. But you know, it's what are you gonna do?
yeah, exactly.
Part of the charm.
hmm
But I guess we should move. That moves me to the third question, which what are some of your favorite tropes in science fiction?
Ooh, that is a good question. Favorite tropes.
Like what's
This
something?
kind of
What's something that like when you'll read or watch something, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna at least give it a shot.
yeah. I'm a real sucker for a good adventure story,
Mhm.
just in general, but especially in a science fiction setting. I recently rewatched through the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I just love that kind of group of misfit characters go on an adventure in a crazy sci-fi setting.
I
Like,
enjoy that too. That's a fun trope. I like that.
I will usually at least like some aspect of the story, even if the whole thing doesn't work for me. Like so many of my favorite sci-fi properties have that trope in it of band of misfit characters going on an adventure.
Yeah, like, well, I kind of got into this conversation with the last guest, but like Star Wars is kind of that. But I'm like, is it really sci-fi? But you know what? I won't get into that conversation again.
Yeah, again, it's one of those that
we
blurs
kind
the lines for-
of talked circles around it. And we were just kind of like, I don't know. not an
Yeah.
expert.
Put it wherever you want. It does, as a huge Star Wars nerd, I think you can make a valid argument either way.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, I'm like, well, it's very much like an archetypal fantasy story, but at the same time, like, there's like speculative elements, especially in like
Mm-hmm.
the prequel movies, which, like, look,
Uh-huh.
I know they're flawed, but like, there's actually some pretty interesting stuff in there about like how governments get like corrupted.
Oh yeah, there's tons of political commentary in the prequels, and then especially now with Andor, which was fantastic.
Mhm.
Loved that show. Really gets into the nitty gritty of the politics of the Empire and whatnot.
All I'll say is, thank God for the Clone Wars.
Yes, yes,
They really saved those movies from.
for sure.
Yeah. Oh man.
Now we just need to wait for an animated show that fixes the sequels, but that's neither here nor there.
That's true. Yeah.
We won't get into that whole.
I won't touch that.
But in terms of other tropes that I really like, on kind of a different flavor of sci-fi, I actually really enjoy cosmic horror in sci-fi.
Yes.
I just think that is such a cool concept of there are things out there that we don't understand, and that is equal parts fascinating and terrifying
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah, I think cosmic horror and science fiction fit well together.
Hmm.
I mean, you especially see it in kind of played with and stuff like, I mean, my favorite horror movie of all time is also a science fiction movie. It's The Thing. And also Alien. I think Alien has some
Yes.
cosmic horror elements in it, before
Oh, definitely.
Prometheus is like, let's remove all of the things that made the xenomorphs terrifying.
Yes.
Thanks,
yes.
Ridley Scott.
Yes, that's exactly what I talked about in my Prometheus video, and will talk about in my Alien Covenant video as well, is that the xenomorph is so much more interesting when you remove any sort of idea of backstory or anything like that. It's just like, I'm pretty sure when people watched the first Alien, they were just like, it exists out there in the universe. We don't know where it came from, and we don't need to know where it came from. That's what makes it scary.
Yeah, and they try to explain where like the disc jockey came, or I think that's what they call it, the disc jockey came from.
I think it's the space jockey.
Space jockey, sorry. What did I say?
Now I'm just imagining an engineer as a DJ on turntables.
Oh yeah, I said disc jockey. My bad. Yeah, no, that is
That's how
what
they
DJ
fly their
means.
ship.
Oh man, they were partying it up over there at their home world. But no, no.
Sorry to derail you there.
No, that was my fault. I didn't. Yeah, space jockey is what they call it.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's that kind of irritated me. So yeah, thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Ridley Scott.
Yes, I consider Ridley Scott in a similar camp to George Lucas, in the sense that, like, you guys both have some really interesting ideas, have made some legendary films, but you've also made some decisions that just I do not understand what on earth happened.
Yeah, no, I think if Prometheus had not like tried to be like an alien movie, I think it would have been a pretty good film on its own.
Oh yeah,
And I still like
yeah.
it. I still think it's an interesting movie, but like, oh man. Though there's also some other stuff that kind of bugs me, like why are you reaching towards the wiener snake? Just stop that. Don't do that.
Yes, how the scientist characters are some of the dumbest characters.
Like,
Make
look, I
some of
get
the
fear kind of.
stupidest decisions.
I know sometimes fear can throw common sense out the window, but like, come on, like,
Right. Exactly.
don't reach towards
It's
the
like-
wiener, the weird alien wiener snake. Like, don't do that.
Yes, it's hissing at you. It looks like a cobra. Why are you trying to pet it?
Have you ever seen How It Should Have Ended?
Yes.
Have you ever seen
I've
their Prometheus episode?
I
Oh,
have.
It's one of my favorites.
It's fantastic. They totally nail basically every issue that I have.
Oh,
that
it's so
movie.
good. He's like, it's an alien wiener snake, and it like hisses at him. He's like, it's so beautiful. Love it.
Yes. Oh. Yes, I also like the part where Michael Fassbender's character, he puts the black goo in the drink.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the guy's like, I just saw you stick your finger in my drink. I'm not drinking that.
And then he still tries. He's like, no
Yes.
way. He's like, no way. Oh man, nah, God. I mean, kind of going back to the AI. I love AI, stuff in science fiction. Like, I'll read it at least or watch
Right.
it if there's AI involved. Which it's probably why 2001 is one of my favorite sci-fi movies, because Hal is very, even though he's like not really an AI, like he's just carrying out his function, but whatever, no.
Right, exactly. This is actually this gets a little into superheroes, but that's actually why I greatly prefer Ultron in the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon as opposed to the movies,
Mhm.
is because in the cartoon he acts way more like an AI would, where he's way more cold and logical and calculating, whereas in the movies he's like cracking jokes and is way more of like a mustache twirling villain. But I prefer the version where he's more logical and just cold.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm not really a big like Avengers fan. I mean, I like the movies, but I did watch that in the Earth Mightiest Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about, yeah, that was an underrated
Yes.
show.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah, that one's good.
I mean, I don't know if it's up there with like the DC animated stuff with like Justice
Mhm.
League and Batman the animated series, but
Mhm.
very underrated, I thought. Though I do think it's kind of hilarious that they got Master Chief to play Star-Lord.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. That is so funny to listen to that. It's like they sound exactly the same, of course, because it's the same voice actor, but he didn't even do any variation in his voice.
Yeah, and I'm just like, man, they got Chris Pratt to play Peter
Right.
Quill in the movie.
It's so different from the original version of those characters.
Which I think it worked for the Guardians
Oh, yeah.
movies, but I just think that's funny. Yeah.
Definitely.
But I'm like, I know that like Ultron is like their biggest like bad guy in the comic books, so I think you'll like Ultron in the comics because he's very scary.
Definitely. Yeah, and like you said with AI, it's one of those things in science fiction you can explore a lot of different things. We were talking about Star Trek earlier. One of my favorite characters is Data.
Yeah, he's
Because
fun.
they do so much with using AI as a means to explore what does it mean to be human and all of those different kinds of things.
I do like the moment where he like tries to laugh and they just like stare at him like, don't ever do that again.
Yes, they're all like disturbed by it.
It's like, just stop that. That yeah, it makes me one of my gripes about like the AI debate is that like when I think of like artificial intelligence, I think of intelligence as sentience. Like I'm aware that like I'm a human, and
Right.
like I can make a choice, like I can get a drink, or I can do whatever, do this. Like the AI that we have now is still like a machine. It's still carrying out a function.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, because basically stuff like, and I mean, this opens a whole nother can of worms, but stuff like Chat GPT.
I was about to
for
say, I talk
example-
about this every episode, so
Oh, well, there we go. It's on your channel, so you'll reap the consequences, and I'll be fine.
yeah, and then
But,
people are gonna. Yeah, I'm always looking for the comments that are like, "No, you idiot! Like AI is totally not that." I've had some people in the past who are like, "There's some people who are really stupid," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, but like we're still aware that like I'm sure even like the dumbest person out there is aware like I'm a human being, like I."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, stuff like Chat GPT, I mean, it's basically just a hyper advanced search engine. at
Pretty
the end of
much,
the
yeah.
day. It just like scours the internet for information and then compiles it.
Or Grok,
It's still incredible, compared to where the internet was
Yeah.
20 years ago versus where it is today. But yeah,
Like-
that's more accurate to what it really is.
Yeah, or Grok,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you use Grok.
No, I don't really use I don't really use Grok. I've never.
I don't
really
use it either because I'm like,
found
you have
it
to pay for
useful.
this? Like, I don't want to pay for anything.
Right, exactly. Also, I'm not sure.
My
Did he
dad
rip
loves it
that?
though. He's like, "Oh, Britton, have you heard of this grok thing? Oh man, it's fantastic." I'm just like, I know what it is. I don't use it very much because I don't want to
No.
pay for it.
Also, did Musk? Did he rip that from Robert Heinlein?
He did,
The
yeah. A Stranger in
grok?
a Strange Land. If he didn't, that'd be a hell of a coincidence. But I think
Right,
he did.
right.
I think he did because he does like science fiction.
That would make sense. That makes sense.
But yeah, I really like AI. I thought this would be interesting to talk about because you're a man of faith. You mentioned
Mhm.
that. I'm really fascinated with like religion and science fiction. I always think
Mm.
that's interesting because like there's like two camps of like science fiction. Like there's the like hardcore materialist kind of science fiction, and then there's kind of like the science fiction that kind of plays with spirituality and mythology and kind of where we're going. I don't know if you've read Hyperion yet, but
Mm.
the first story plays a lot with like how religion will survive in the future. I'm curious what
Mm.
you think of that. As a person of faith.
Right. I think it's incredibly fascinating to think about because at least from, if you read debates online, most people seem to put kind of science and sci-fi and religion against one another as if it's kind of an either or. I think it's an incredibly fascinating discussion though. I need to read these books. I haven't, but C.S. Lewis wrote the Space Trilogy,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and kind of the whole premise around it is, what if there were other species out there like humans? How would God relate to them in
Mm-hmm.
comparison to how he relates to humanity? Which in and of itself is just such a fascinating question. And whether you're a Christian or whatever your beliefs may be, I feel like that's such a fascinating question to kind of grapple with.
Yeah, I either have all the Space Trilogy books or like two of them, but I need to get to those at some point because
Right, right.
it's one of the Lewis books I haven't read. I generally like, again, kind of a non sequitur. I generally prefer his nonfiction work to his fictional
Mm,
work,
mm,
from what I've noticed so far.
gotcha.
But I haven't
No,
read
that
like the
makes sense.
Space Trilogy or Till We Have Faces, which
Mhm.
my friend Sam really enjoyed Till We Have Faces, so maybe I'll try that as well at some point. But you
Nice,
know,
nice. But yeah, I definitely think that as a person of faith, science fiction, it just gets the wheels on my head turning so much because I think that despite how far our technology advances, I believe that human nature fundamentally remains the same. And so it's
yeah,
very interesting to see how we as human beings, even though we have advanced so far as a species, we still fall into the same kind of traps and vices and make
mm,
the same mistakes that we have for centuries.
yeah. No, like one of my gripes with Star Trek, and I bring this up a lot, so I don't mean to belabor the point, but like
No worries.
I always get irritated with Star Trek because they're all like, oh, we moved past religion. I'm like, no way, that's not gonna happen anytime soon. I'm sorry.
Oh, totally.
Like,
Totally.
Voltaire said that religion would die out in 200 years. He was wrong. I think Nietzsche said something similar. We're still here today. Now, do I think
Right.
that do you think like Christianity or Islam will be in the 2000 years in the future? I have no idea, but I do think there will be some version of it in the future.
Right. I mean, I think
Because I
to
think
me,
people
one
will
of.
always want to believe in something bigger than
Mhm.
themselves. Like, if it's true or not, I won't get into that because, this is a chat about science fiction and not religion. But,
Sure,
you
sure.
say human nature doesn't change. I think that's one of the things about human nature that won't change.
Definitely, I would agree. I mean, if you look at every ancient culture that's ever existed, all of them have some conception of whether it's God or the afterlife or spirituality. There is something within us that I do believe that calls out for something greater than ourselves. And of course, what that is the subject of great debate. But I do agree with you on that premise for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I still like Star Trek, but that always kind of bugged me a little bit.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
doesn't like the
and
first like official Star Trek movie kind of like play with the concept of like God or something like that? Like it's
A bit, yes.
It's really weird. Like,
Yeah, the first movie, because the whole premise of that one is that the Voyager spacecraft, like, basically existed for thousands of years and gathered so much knowledge that it became like this godlike entity,
uh-huh.
which is interesting in concept. In actuality, I just don't. I don't really get it. At least to me, you can have a machine gather as much data as possible. It's still fundamentally going to be a machine at the end of the day. I don't believe that data can be converted into energy in the way that they depict like that, but whatever. It's a movie.
Yeah, and then they kind of like look back and are like, that was kind of weird. Let's just do what made Star Trek awesome to begin with.
Yes,
And then we got
yes.
Wrath of Khan out of it. Which, thank God we got Wrath of Khan.
Yes, yes. Yes, people jokingly I've heard refer to the first Star Trek movie because it's called Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Uh-huh.
People referred to it as Star Trek the Slow Motion Picture.
I've not heard this. But yeah,
I've
it
only
felt
seen
very
the
like
movie one
a
time,
riff on
but
like something Arthur C. Clarke would do. I remember from the Star Trek motion picture.
I honestly I could see that for sure because there is a short story that Arthur C. Clarke wrote in which a computer becomes God. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they took inspiration. I forget the name of the short story, but I wouldn't be surprised if they took inspiration from that.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because, like, I think what's interesting about AI, going kind of back to the trope discussion, I think what's interesting about AI is that it is so different from human beings. I think you can play a lot with that, and also the idea of can an AI become like a person? Can an AI be a person? I think that's quite fascinating as well.
Oh yeah, I think both Blade Runner movies
Mhm.
do a great job of exploring that theme. I really love both of those movies for that very reason.
And then there's stuff like System Shock, where like basically the AI becomes like a megalomaniacal, basically it's like I am a god, ha ha ha.
Right, right. Or like Skynet in Terminator just immediately decides, yep, I'm just gonna nuke all of humanity and make robots that look like skeletons because I can.
Yeah. Oh man, Terminator is a great movie.
Yes, yes.
Um,
T1 and T2 are excellent.
I mean, it's not my favorite take on AI because it's basically just like, oh, they blew everyone up. I'm
It's
like,
pretty
okay.
simplistic, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course rooted in a lot of the Cold War fears, of course, when
Yeah.
they were experimenting with AI being hooked up to nuclear systems and whatnot.
Yeah, and everyone's like, that's probably not a good idea,
Yes. Which is so funny to see how the conversation has changed. It used to be the fear was AI is going to nuke the world. Now the fear is AI is going to erase all human created entertainment.
Yeah.
It's just going to start making all of our entertainment for us.
Moot. Yeah, pretty much. Which I don't think that's going to happen. I You know what? I'm not going to get into that conversation. That's
Fair
a chat.
enough.
That's a chat for another time. That's a chat for that. It could be another chat in and of itself.
Yeah, that could be a whole talk in and of itself for sure.
Yeah, no, but yeah, no, I'm really, but yeah, I agree with you. I think stuff like Blade Runner or Ex Machina, which is a place with that similar concept. Those really stick with me more because it's like, okay, can an AI become like a human, or if not, what would it become? And it's kind of like, That's unsettling to me sometimes.
Yes, no, and
at least it can be. In Blade Runner, they're more like, oh, look at the inhumanity, sometimes anyway. But
Definitely.
Ex Machina is more like, well, what if it's not quite human, but it can like mimic a human being? Like,
Right.
but it's very different from human beings. Like, what would that be like? And it's kind of unsettling.
Oh, definitely. They really play with the uncanny nature of it in Ex Machina, and 2001 also plays with
true,
that too. That scene always creeps me out when
He has that
Uh,
real, like, nice, soothing voice. You're just
Yeah,
like, God,
exactly. And where he's talking to Dave, and doesn't Hal say something along the lines where he's like, "I knew you were lying because I saw the movements in your face
Yeah.
gave it away." It's like, ugh, that's such a creepy idea.
Yeah, the one that always stuck out to me with 2001 is when he, like, cuts the wire of that guy and he's just floating around. You're just like, that's not a fun way to go out.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's actually kind of
Fun
a
way to go.
horrific movie if you
Yeah,
think
it's
about
pretty
it.
horrific, yeah.
It's not. It may not be as gory as
I think what's
something like
terrifying about
Alien,
Hal is
but-
that he's just a machine carrying out its function. Like, I don't know if
Mhm,
it's necessarily more advanced than, like, what we have now.
Exactly, that he's not malicious, at least in its own eyes, but rather it's just like, hey, we got to fulfill the mission. If it means expending human lives, so be it.
Yeah, they kind of play with that in Alien too, with Ash.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers, by the way. If anyone hasn't seen Alien,
Spoilers for a movie that came out in 1979, but
you never know.
you never know. It's true. People can get very finicky about spoilers for things.
It's like, oh my god, I haven't seen Alien. I'm just like, how have you not seen Alien? Like, it's so famous.
Yes.
Get out of here. No, but yeah, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, what if an AI could become kind of like a human, but it's very different from human beings? I haven't seen that discussed as much in fiction. Maybe there's other ones that kind of explore that theme. If there's anyone who gets this far, feel free to let me know in the comments. If there's any stories like that, kind of like Ex Machina or 2001 or Blade Runner. Though, do androids dream of electric sheep? I don't know. Did you read the Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
I have. I
Okay.
have read the book. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting contrasting the two because I think they both go in different directions with the concept, with the same concept.
It's actually, and this may be a hot take, it's one of the few cases in which I would say the movie is better than the book. I think the movie does a better job of picking a central theme and really sticking with it. And the book is still good, but I think the book is way more scattershot in terms of what it's trying to explore.
Which, it's Philip K. Dick, so that's kind of a given. Though
Fair
I actually
enough.
think that's one of his tightest books. So, oh man, like,
Well, that's saying something.
yeah,
then.
that's true. He wasn't well. But you know what? Speaking of that actually brings me to my next two questions.
Okay, perfect.
Which is, who are some great transitions I'm doing here? But who are some of the greats of science fiction, in your opinion? And who are some newer science fiction writers that you have found to be compelling?
So, in terms of, speaking of authors specifically...
Though, if you want to mention, like, movies as well, like, that's fine, too.
Sure. So,
I won't be picky.
Perfect. I would definitely put Robert Heinlein up there for me.
I would agree. I like Robert Heinlein.
Would also put...
to a point. Like, after Stranger in a
Yes.
Strange Land, no, but, like, stuff before that I can do.
Yes, what I think they refer to them as his juvenile novels. Basically, the novels he wrote when he was younger: Starship Troopers, Farmer in the Sky. I think Stranger in a Strange Land was kind of his transitioning point of what came after that is pretty different from what came before. But some other ones in terms of writers, I got to put Joe Haldeman up there because of the Forever War.
I had a feeling you would bring up Joe Haldeman.
Yeah, how did you know?
Oh.
But also I would be remiss not to mention Ray Bradbury. I would definitely put up there for sure. Love Fahrenheit 451 and The Martian Chronicles. I think is a very underrated.
I actually here's my spicy take for the day. I actually like Martian Chronicles more than Fahrenheit. Though Fahrenheit's grown on me over the years, so
I could definitely see
because
the
I
argument.
read it when I was like in late middle school, early high school, and I was like, okay, yeah, cool. You know, he burns books, you know. But then I read it again when I was like in junior year of high school, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting a lot more out of this than I did before.
Right.
Okay, I see what he's getting at.
Yes, it's definitely one that's due for a reread for me. That I read that one in either high school or middle school as well, and so yeah, Ray Bradbury definitely. It kind of goes without saying, but you got to put Asimov on there
Yeah.
in some form or fashion. Definitely.
Speaking of AI, iRobot, I really like the original short story collection of that. A lot better than the movie. That's all I'll say.
It's
man.
funny. I have a soft spot for the movie. Just
It's not
as
terrible, but it's like it's really
a
campy.
fun action movie. Oh yeah, and it's very campy, and it's not accurate to the source material.
I just kind of shake my head at Will Smith movies a lot because I'm like, you're more talented than this, man. Do better. Like, stop this. It's like that Michael Jordan meme.
Right. Stop it. Get some help.
Yeah, pretty much. Those more like, stop it. You're shooting below your weight, Will Smith.
Right. And then let's see. Outside, going to more newer stuff. I mean, I got to put George Lucas on there for Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. The last guest said George Lucas as well. I'm like, yeah. He definitely has influenced where science fiction has gone since Star Wars. Like,
yes,
him and like Gene Roddenberry, man, like they, you know.
Yeah. But then in terms of newer stuff, I actually started reading the Expanse novels by I think it's James S.A. Corey.
I've heard mixed things about them.
That's interesting.
Like the people,
I loved
like the people who like them really like them, and the people who don't like them just are like, yeah, whatever. It's mid. Like,
it's definitely nothing groundbreaking in terms of the genre, but it has so many of the tropes that I just love in space opera sci-fis like that. I love it for that reason. And I've only read the first book, need to get into the sequels, but I thought the first book was an excellent introduction.
Yeah, you know, I would like to try it someday. It's just, again, like, I kind of, which I'll admit some slight hypocrisy on my part, because, you know, I'm reading Gardens of the Moon right now from Steven Erikson, which is a 10-book saga, but I generally don't read longish book series all that much. Like,
yeah,
you know, like, I try to stick with trilogies, but, you know, maybe. If it's,
I understand.
I heard it's like 7 books, so I'm like, okay, I can probably deal with this.
Yeah, and they're pretty. I at least thought book 1 was paced very well, and he is.
Yeah, I was about to say they're also thick boys, so you know, like, you know.
Yes, but what I love about his writing style is that he doesn't get bogged down in the descriptions like so many other sci-fi fantasy writers do, which is one of my pet peeves. I'm one of those guys.
So you like,
this may be a hot take.
Did you read Lord of the Rings and you were just like, oh my god, too much nature?
I can appreciate something like that because of the amount of time and the work, you know, and the effort that goes into world building. But at the same time, I do feel like I'm one of those guys where I'm like, I could care less what the planet looks like. Just get me to the character stuff. Get me to the action. Don't explain all of the physics to me in super gritty detail.
That's a pet peeve of mine, and that's a pet peeve of mine in science fiction. Sometimes, like, even ones I like, sometimes even Robert Heinlein will kind of go like, okay, this is like in Moon is a Harsh Mistress. Sometimes he would kind of describe like how the colony works. I'm like, I don't really need to know that. I don't really need to know that.
Which some of that could also just
some of that's pretty cool. Like when they go to Earth and they kind of like are wigged out because, you know, like the gravity's different. Like that was pretty cool.
Right.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword, I guess.
And I think some of that could be a product of the time too, in the sense of that, well, this was written in an era where exploration of space was still a very new frontier, and
also space colonization is a trope I enjoy. I like that a bit. So yeah,
Yes,
big
yes.
Mass Effect guy.
I was just about to say, you were asking about Mass Effect is one of my favorite sci-fi universes. I love the first three games. I should clarify, uh, and I love the world building, love the characters. It's one of those few properties that gave me the same feeling that Star Wars gave me when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I would put Mass Effect up there as well.
yeah. I'm like, oh man, like if they ever make a Star Trek game, guys, like there's the blueprint right there.
Right, right. Already got the template for it.
I bet the Star Trek like developers got so mad they're just like, oh, we can't do it now. They'll just say we're ripping off Mass Effect.
Right. Which
But no.
apparently they're coming out with an Expanse video game that looks very similar to Mass Effect in terms of
Interesting. I didn't know that.
the way it's laid out. But they've made it clear, the developers have made it clear that like this is not a Mass Effect clone. We're doing our own thing. So
We're using similar model though. We're using a similar engine. Yeah, probably.
Which I mean, at a certain point, there's always going to be some level of crossover just because the concepts are so similar. So
yeah, it's true. I mean, it's yeah, the space colonization is another one I really like. Like that's probably why I like Martian Chronicles so much. That explains a lot. No, though, yeah. Have you read Andy Weir at all? Like, have you read
so
did you read The Martian?
I've got The Martian, Artemis, and Project Hail Mary all on audio, and I need to get to those. Those are ones that I need to get to, especially in preparation now that Project Hail Mary is going to be a movie here pretty soon.
Yeah,
also.
I read The Martian some years ago. I actually think it was when the movie came out. And one of the things I really liked about that book is that it kind of does that, old school science fiction. He describes how the science works, but I think Andy Weir does it in a very approachable way. Like he'd be a great. I said this last episode, but I think he'd be a great science teacher if he, if he didn't,
he'd be an entertaining one for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but yeah, he's very good at that. So I think you would appreciate that if you got to The Martian. I don't know if he's like one of the greats, but I did enjoy it. I would like to try Project Hail Mary because I've heard it's also very good. So maybe I'll put that on the 2026 sci-fi.
There
list.
we go.
We'll see.
There we go. Yes,
I'll get you in on it. Be like, yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. Yes, that would be great.
Yeah. No, but you mentioned cosmic horror earlier. I think you would really enjoy Jeff Vandermeer. His Southern Reach trilogy is basically just like it's very much a play on cosmic horror. I'll just say that.
Okay.
So maybe I'll link that to you later. But
yes. Shoot me a message with that. I'll definitely take a look.
A lot of nature porn, but man, it's great.
Guy just likes going out in nature, I guess.
Yeah, no, but like it works though. But it works, You're like, yes, more of that, yeah, like I mean, for me, I really like Bradbury. Kurt Vonnegut. I mean, I've only read one of his books, which is Slaughterhouse-Five. I want to read it again at some point, but I remember reading it when I was younger and just being really impressed with just how, not disjointed, but it's like purposefully disjointed because it's very much it's kind of like it's a very like metaphorical exploration of how trauma works, but like using time travel. And I'm very picky with time travel stories, but I really like Slaughterhouse-Five.
That's another one of those classics I need to get to. I have heard very good things about that one.
Philip K. Dick. I like his weirdness. What can I say? I like his weirdness. His weird names, just the weird words he uses. Like he uses stuff like airsats, guffawing. You'll notice that in some of his books. You're like, what is this?
He really embodies the essence of a speculative fiction author in terms of you can tell it's just like I got fixated on this one concept, and I'm just gonna throw you into my daydream about this particular
And he does it
concept.
in like very short amount of time. Like his books are not
Hmm.
that long. They're
No, that's the funny thing is,
It's
yeah,
just
his
like
books are
they
pretty
can be a
short.
little, like you were saying, a little scattered because he's
Hmm.
very likely mentally ill, I should say.
Mm. Yeah, no, it definitely
And
comes across as someone
like
just
there's
kind of like throwing you into their world
like
and their
there's
headspace.
a book of his called like Time Out of Joint, which is I don't know if you ever watched the Truman Show, but it's kind of like the Truman
Hmm.
Show before the Truman Show, basically.
Okay, okay.
Um, and like there's parts where he like dissects or he'll digress into like discussing like Freudian concepts. I'm like, okay, like all right, like it's one of his tighter books, but yeah, he does like his digressions. I'll just say that. I'll just say that. But yeah, no. What's another one I really like? Let me think. I mean, I like Mass Effect.
Oh yeah.
I didn't play it till like about around COVID time a few years ago,
Hmm.
and like I was like, man, I'm sorry I didn't play this earlier. Like, you guys were
Yeah,
right. This game's
same here.
amazing. Like, yes,
Yes.
the world building's really good, and yeah, the characters are great, and yeah, I really like how the RPG elements are used.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mass Effect is so good. That's another one actually that I do plan on. I want to make a video on the Mass Effect trilogy specifically because there's just so much to you could talk about there, from the world building to the characters to the themes. It's so expansive
Mm-hmm.
and for the most part very well written, and again, it's one of those universes that you can just get lost in, like some of the best sci-fi universes.
Oh yeah, like I really like just exploring the worlds and kind of going through nooks and crannies. It's basically like Skyrim, but like the
Hmm.
story's a lot better than Skyrim. I
Yes,
hate to
it's not
say.
something like I haven't played Starfield,
I have a
but
soft spot for Skyrim. Like I just
right, exactly. And I haven't played Starfield, but I've heard one of the big complaints about that game is that it's a very big world, but it's so shallow. Like
yeah.
there's just no depth to the world building, to the characters, to the factions. It's just like, yeah, we made you this big universe, but there's nothing in it. And
Nothing to
Mass
care
Effect is
about.
like the complete opposite.
Nothing to care about. And you're just like,
Right.
dang it, come on. No, but yeah. What are some other ones I really like? I don't know. Ridley Scott, maybe.
I
Ridley
was
Scott's
about to
kind of
say
yeah,
Alien.
Ridley Scott, for better or for worse, he's been influential on
Oh
science
yeah.
fiction.
Oh yeah.
Um, James Cameron, even though I can't stand James Cameron anymore.
I was about to say James Cameron may be, for me, the director I'm the most frustrated at, because Terminator 1 and 2 are both great, Aliens is great, and then it was like after Titanic he just like
These
has
blue
gotten hooked
people,
on Avatar, and I don't know why.
blue cat people. That's what we're doing. And Hollywood's like, here's a blank check. Like, why Hollywood? What like I had a friend of mine the other day, or actually, this wasn't the other day. It was like a few years ago, and he's like, "Man, imagine the great action movies, like great movies that like Cameron could have been making if he hadn't been wasting his time on this Avatar thing."
Yes.
Because oh man,
Yes. I feel the exact same way, and it's like, yes, they look pretty. Yes, they are technologically, like from a filmmaking standpoint, they are very well made, but it's just like I don't care about these characters. I don't care about the
commentary is
story.
so surface level,
Yes, it's just like we've seen this story a million times.
and you're not doing it in an interesting way. Come
No,
on.
it's like I don't know. I like what most people seem to get out of Avatar. Like I get that out of Dune. Like I think the Dune movies do an excellent job of immersing you in the world, but you still care about the characters. Yes, the story is a familiar one, but it's so well done. The world is so interesting.
So would you
and
say
the
like
world,
Frank Herbert is on there on your
Yes, I would put Frank Herbert on there for sure. You shouldn't neglect to mention him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so frustrated with Dune because I'm like a lot of it is dry, but like I get what he's doing. Like I
No
appreciate
pun
it,
intended.
like thematically. Yeah, no pun intended at all. But like, yeah,
It's very dense for sure. Like
yeah,
the
like he
the book
over-explain.
itself.
Like he has that pet peeve you had, like where he over-explains things.
Oh, he definitely
And I'm
does.
like, just let the freaking characters do the work. Like,
And I haven't read the sequels yet. I need to read Dune Messiah and the
yeah,
other
I kind of
ones,
know what
but-
happens though. Like I know he kind of just like he's like, whoops, he committed a jihad. But anyway, yeah, I won't go into that.
Yeah, yeah. The movies are clearly alluding to that. That's what's going to happen, which I'm interested to see what they do. I will read Dune Messiah before Dune Part 3 comes out, and Dune is another one of those on my never-ending list of things I want to make a video on, but have yet to do so. So,
For sure, for sure. But, you know, I haven't watched like Firefly yet, but I know a lot of people like Joss Whedon, so there you go.
Firefly's pretty good. I like the Firefly and then Serenity. I
I
think
was about
it's
to say,
pretty
you know
fun.
what he also did? Alien Resurrection.
I that yes.
He knew it was
I thought
coming.
you were going a different direction with
No
that
kidding.
statement, but
No, though from his account, he's disowned Alien Resurrection and wants nothing to do with it. But you know, we'll see.
that's a funny movie because the director and
Thank God
Joss
for Alien
Whedon-
Romulus. You know,
Right,
That's all
right.
I'll say.
Yes. What's funny about Alien Resurrection is the Joss Whedon and the director couldn't stand one another, and so that it explains so much about why the movie is as much of a fever dream as it is, because neither of them wanted to do.
It's like,
what
no,
the other
man.
was
Like,
doing.
yeah, definitely just start beating the crap out of the evil scientist and have a chest burster go through his head. Like, yeah, that's fine. Just do that.
It's such an insane film. It really feels like a fever dream.
Like,
is
yeah,
the
just
best way to
totally, you
describe
know,
it.
just yeah, have the black guy sacrifice himself for no reason. That's fine. Just that's cool.
Have the xenomorph dodge bullets. That part kills me.
Oh man, yeah. Ugh. Enough on that.
Yes, fair enough.
Next
I
question.
think we actually talked about Alien Resurrection the last time I was
That's-
on
yeah.
here too.
It's haunting us.
It is. It's a very memorable movie for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, pretty much. My next questions, which I think are the most important questions of this show,
Oh,
and
boy.
one of the reasons why I started this show, because I wanted some other second opinions on this. But do you have any worries about where the science fiction genre is headed? And are there any gripes that you have with like the genre that you would like to see improved?
Ooh, that is a good question. So
It's important. Don't mess
It
it up.
is. It very is.
I'm kidding, by the way. You can answer however you want. There's no pressure here.
Honestly, the thing I'm most concerned for is more on the front of Hollywood. It seems like, and this is a problem with the film industry as a whole right now, I just feel like Hollywood specifically is very unwilling to invest in risky ideas or new IPs. It seems like right now we are very much stuck in the era of the sequel, the reboot, the legacy sequel, and very few studios are willing to take a risk on a brand new IP or universe in science fiction.
Yeah, you know, I a lot of my problems I've learned that I have with like science fiction in general is like mainly like gripes with marketing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, I've seen things. I don't know if you've heard much of Sun Eater, but a lot of people are kind of raving about that right now. And the final book's coming out in November, if I recall correctly. It's kind of like, and from the sounds of it, it kind of sounds like an epic fantasy just in space. which that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just kind of like, I find that kind of corrodes the identity of science fiction, if you will. Which that might be me being super nitpicky, and that's totally fine. Like, I have nothing against Christopher Rocchio, and he actually seems like an interesting guy. I definitely would love to have him on the show. But,
yes, I've loved the interviews I've seen of him. Seems like a really great person to talk to.
But you know, I think but I find like science fiction's kind of in a weird spot right now. At least I think it is, because it's like we're kind of in the future right now. Like, we're kind of starting to approach the future. And, like, you know, like I said, you know, we're getting all these like weird Tesla cars running around. You know, we have AI, even though it kind of isn't AI. It's, you know, it's starting to kind of approach AI though. And like where else can we go? I guess is kind of my question that I've been kind of wrestling with, which is why I started this show, because I'm like, I wonder if anyone else feels the same way, or if this is just me thinking myself into a corner, because, you know, I do that a lot. I spend a lot of time alone, if you couldn't tell.
No worries. Trust me, I daydream about stuff like this myself. I personally, I would say I'm more of an optimist in the sense that I think that new ideas are coming about every day.
That's true.
I don't think we have any. I'll put it this way. I don't think we have any shortage of creative people. The question is, are they going to be the voices that are given the biggest platform?
That's true.
That are heard
also, I know indie sci-fi has started kind of blowing up, and that is actually... I want to read more indie books. You know, it's kind of one of my goals I've had through this year and probably next year. I haven't really, you know... I've dipped my toes, but I haven't really, like, you know, read any, you know... Well, okay, that's not true. I have read a good couple of indie books at this point, but like I would like to read more indie sci-fi at some point, because I know that's becoming a thing, and I've heard some people go like, this is the future of science fiction right here, and I'm like, okay, like I want to see where this is. I want to see what this is all about. So yeah, I've heard that, so maybe that'll... So again, if you've come this far, ladies and gentlemen, who are more versed in indie sci-fi than me, recommend me some in the comment section. Even recommend Thomas some. He might enjoy it.
Definitely.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like what Jordan from iWizard once asked, which is like, where are the kind of, you know, Heinleins and Asimovs of our age? Which I guess you could say people like, you know, Andy Weir and Jeff Vandermeer are kind of taking over those charges. But I do think science fiction is kind of not dying or anything. I don't think it's going away anytime soon, but it is kind of in a weird spot, I think, at the moment.
It is, for sure. I do think one of the benefits, though, of our modern era is, and some people may disagree with me on this, but personally, I think right now is a better time than we've ever had for self-published authors, for indie directors, for indie game devs. Like, the industry through the internet has become way more accessible than it ever was.
And diverse, too. Like, there's a lot
of diverse, definitely.
Like, there's ideas and stuff that I've seen that, like, in indie stuff that I'm just like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, look at the amount of examples also, and I hope to be a part of this one day as well, but the amount of people who have used YouTube as a platform for launching their own books, their own writing careers. Like, it's pretty incredible how social media, for all of its faults, has allowed more indie voices to be heard than were in the past.
Sure. Yeah, no. Again, my gripes are probably mostly with marketing, but
yeah.
But like, there's sometimes I'm like, this is just a fantasy novel with the science fiction slapped on it. But then, you know, and then the other part of my brain's like, Britton, you like Star Wars? Like, get over yourself.
Yeah, totally. And Dune, I mean, you can obviously trace it all the way back to Dune has kind of created that subgenre.
There's some kind of fantasy elements in there too.
Oh, definitely.
Even though, like, Dune's a weird thing. Dune's a
You
thing
can
in
say
and of
that
itself.
again.
Yeah, I'm like,
Well,
Dune's a
Frank
thing.
Herbert was a weird dude, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I know. I was talking with a friend of mine who lives in Oregon. He's like, oh, yeah, Frank Herbert, he was inspired by the dunes in Oregon. And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, man, when I think of Oregon, I always think of, like, forests.
Yeah. Well, and Frank Herbert also very infamously was on hallucinogenics when he was writing a good
That
chunk of that
that
novel.
does not surprise me.
It's like, oh, all of those descriptions about the visions now make total sense now now that I know that information.
What would I like to see improved? I don't know. Maybe like give science fiction more of like its concrete identity. Because again, I feel like it's kind of blending in with fantasy. Which again, there's
Mm,
nothing wrong with that. That's not a new thing at all.
hmm
But like I want like science fiction books that are like specifically science fiction. That makes sense. I don't know.
hmm It's
That's not
funny.
just like epic fantasy with like a science fiction bent
Right,
to it.
right. I
And
think
also pop science fiction irritates me. Or as I like to call it, popcorn science fiction, where it's basically like
ah,
let's get a wisecracking smartass, throw him in a sci-fi setting, and call it a day. Like
yeah. No,
that.
that's fair. I think that's fair for sure. You made me think also of think it was Orson Scott Card who, when they asked him what is the distinction between fantasy and sci-fi, he said fantasy has trees and sci-fi has nuts and bolts.
You know what? I'll give him that. I'll give him that.
But yeah, in terms of that's right. Your other question was what can be improved, which is a good question. I I definitely see what you're saying about marketing for sure. Honestly, again, I think what can be improved is I just oh here it is. Here I'm kind of gathering my thoughts here. In books in particular, it seems like right now marketing is mainly focused on tropes of like
Yeah.
this book has found family, this book has slow
Yeah,
burn
that kind of
romance, this burn has blah blah
that
blah.
kind of bugs me as well. For whatever, like it
Yes.
shouldn't, because like tropes aren't like bad. Like they're
No.
they're inherent. Like tropes are
Right.
tools. But like at the same time, when I see books that are like found family,
Mhm.
romance, I'm just like, why?
Yeah. I'm way more personally
Why?
interested on marketing a book or a story based on a premise. And I feel like that has changed so much where it's like, you go back to the 70s and 80s, like Alien, it was just purely marketed on bunch of astronauts encounter something creepy in space. And that's the hook that gets you into it. Or
In
Predator.
space, nobody can hear you scream.
Right. Or in Predator, where it's like a bunch of army commandos who are, tough as nails,
Biggest
run into
badasses on the planet.
crazy alien hunter that they can't beat. Like those kinds of. I want to see more of books and movies and just stories in general being marketed off of the premise rather than, like you said, the tropes or stuff
Yeah,
along
no,
those
like
lines.
yeah, like I like if there's a good way to describe Predator, it's basically like big badasses run into an even bigger badass that just makes them feel inadequate.
Right, exactly.
And then Arnold's like, "Well, I gotta improvise. We can't use guns with this thing."
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
I love Predator. It's such a
Oh
great
yeah,
movie.
great movie.
No, but yeah, no. If I had like that's about it. Like again, I think a lot of it is marketing, really, and also like stop with the smartasses and putting them in a sci-fi. Andy Weir kind of ruined science fiction with that trope a little bit.
That seems to be just from the marketing. It seems to be a big chunk of what he does. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Ooh.
nothing. Like I said, nothing gets Andy Weir. He's very good at what he does, but that just kind of irritates. I kind of don't like the trend he started.
I just thought of another trend that I hate. I do not like science fiction that depends so heavily on meta references.
Oh God.
I am so over
So
the,
not a
the Ready Player
not-
One just trend that we
Oh,
have been
boy.
stuck in.
Oh, don't even get me started on Ready Player One. Like, oh my gosh.
Like, don't get me wrong, I think the first movie, the first book, like it's fine. Like it's fine for what it is. But when I read Armada, have you read Armada by
I have
Ernest
not read
Cline?
Armada.
Oh my gosh, that book, it is one of the few books I have ever given 1 star. I just could not
In all
stand it.
honesty, I haven't read it because I've heard it's really bad.
I
So,
really don't like it. He doubles down on the meta references to a point that is just so annoying, and also just some of the tropes that are in that book are just so. It feels very author self-inserty in a way that is very distracting.
Ready Player One kind of torpedoed science fiction for a while. That's all I'll say. That's all I gotta say about that. Oh my god.
Nah, that's fair. That's fair.
God, like I don't like that book very much.
It's like
Movie's
like,
fun. I have a soft spot for
Yeah.
the movie.
like the
My
movie's
dad loves
fine.
it. He's like, oh my god, that's a great film.
Yeah.
I was like, I
It's
don't know if it's a
funny
great
'cause-
film, but I liked it. I thought it was fun.
It's one of those things too where it's kind of that whole trope of like, look, I get it. Nerds were, crapped on for the longest time. I get it.
Nerds
But
are the new
whenever-
cool.
Yes, but whenever you have a protagonist that's like, my superpower is I know all the pop culture stuff, and that's what allows me to save the day. It's just kind of like, it comes across very try hard.
Yeah. Just stop.
Yes.
Get help. No.
Right.
I've heard Ready Player 2 is even worse. Like
I have heard pretty bad things about that one, which supposedly they're still gonna try to make a movie off of that one. We'll see if it happens, but they may have to change some things if they're committing to that.
Well, my next question here, this is penultimate
Yes.
question here, but penultimate question is, are there science fiction novels or anything in general that you would like to consume in the future? Read or watch or play or whatever. I don't
Totally.
I won't pun. Yeah, like I said, I'm not picky.
No worries. So, in terms of science fiction, in terms of books specifically, definitely want to continue with The Expanse. Really loved book 1. Do want to see that through to the end. Do want to get to C.S. Lewis's space trilogy as well.
Mhm.
I grew up on the Chronicles of Narnia, so it's only fitting that I read his subsequent quote-unquote more adult books as well. And then the one actually that I'm currently reading, I'm reading Jurassic Park for the first time.
Oh wow,
and,
yeah.
and I'm enjoying it. So I've
You
been
that's
getting
one of
more
the,
into.
That's one of those, you watch the movie and you read the book, like, this is a lot different than the
Yeah.
movie. Damn.
Yes. And Michael Crichton is actually an author I've been getting way more into recently that I've really been enjoying what I've read.
Yeah,
of him
he's
so
he's
far.
one of those good, like, I call him, he's kind of like, he's like proto popcorn science fiction, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. He's definitely way more digestible for a larger audience than some other
Now, the
sci-fi
Andromeda
authors
Strain,
out
like,
there.
that's a really good book. I really enjoy the
Mhm.
Andromeda Strain.
So
But
yeah,
once you kind
I-
of get his shtick, like, what if science goes wrong?
Definitely.
Yeah.
But in terms of sci-fi books, I would say those are the big ones on the horizon for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to read The Stars My Destination at some point. Hoping to catch up on, like, some classic sci-fi, like, I'm hoping to get, like, into, like, that book, or Ursula K. Le Guin. I know her sci-fi work is very well liked, very beloved
Definitely.
by the masses. Though, I think Austin and Richard didn't care for one of her sci-fi books. I don't remember.
I saw they did a review of one of, I think it was The Dispossessed was the review they did of one of her books.
Maybe. I don't know.
I didn't watch the review though.
Like,
Sorry, Richard and Austin, if you're watching this.
Yeah, like there's an indie sci-fi book that I was really fascinated in that I would like to get to, like, or I'll get Adrian Tchaikovsky out of the way. I'd like to get into his stuff at some point, but this is one
yeah.
book. I actually added it recently to, like, stuff I want to read sooner, but it's basically about an AI but they think it might be demon possessed. I'm like, that sounds really neat. I kind of want to read that to see
You
what
could do
that's-
some fun stuff
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to share that with you and be like, here you go. But Yeah, I wanna try that book. Some other stuff I'm probably not thinking of at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like to try the space trilogy at some point.
There we go. Yeah, and then in terms of outside of books, I want to go back and rewatch The Day the Earth Stood Still. I love the original film from the 50s,
Oh
and
yeah.
I do, out of morbid curiosity, want to watch the remake just to see how badly they they butcher it. I have not heard good things about the remake that they did with Keanu Reeves, who I normally love, but
Yeah,
I've
it's.
heard pretty bad things about the remake.
I remember watching it and just thinking it was kind of boring when I was a kid. Then I
That's
watched the
fair.
'50s version. I'm like, yeah, okay, it's a little campy, but you know.
It was very ahead of its time in a lot of ways. You didn't get a lot of sci-fi movies back like that in that era.
Yeah, though it does make me think of the Evil Dead because he uses like Klaatu's message in
Right.
in Army of Darkness
Right.
because he forgets Ash does because he forgets what he was supposed to do. Yeah,
Hmm.
I like to watch Firefly at some point. A lot of friends are like, "Oh my gosh, bro! Like Firefly!" Like, oh man. Even though I think that Joss Whedon's kind of a pretentious douche. Maybe not
Yeah.
pretentious, but a douche. He always seemed douchey to me. Even before
No,
it
I
came
think
out that
that's
he was
totally
one.
fair.
Even before it came out that he was one, I'm like, something.
Right, right.
I sniff something. I sniff something sus about this guy.
Yeah, you can see the way he carries himself in interviews. He very much had kind of a high and mighty opinion of himself.
Yeah.
It seems like,
He's like, I'm
but but yeah, I would say honestly, I would probably say Firefly is my. I haven't watched Buffy, but I would say Firefly is my favorite thing that I've ever seen him do.
I was also hesitant for a long time because I love Cowboy Bebop, which is kind of a similar
That's a
idea
good one.
where
Yes.
space cowboys run around and shoot things, though they're bounty hunters, and I don't think the Firefly crew are bounty hunters. But anyway,
Not quite, no, but I wouldn't say it's like I'm not a mega fan. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's one of the greatest shows of all time, but it's pretty good. I would still recommend it for sure.
I am that way about Cowboy Bebop, like all day.
Mm, nice,
It's my
nice.
favorite anime. No,
That is a good one for sure.
um, but yeah. So my last question,
Yes.
which might be the hardest one, so be aware. But what is a science fiction book or books that people should read before they die?
Oh, yeah, that is a big one. So it is one that again is debated if it's sci-fi or not, but I'm gonna say it anyway. 1984. It's arguably one of the most important books written in the 20th century. I think everyone should read it for sure. It is one of those books that is timeless in terms of
Mm-hmm.
how prescient its themes are. So definitely would put 1984 up there for sure. In terms of some other ones, read before you die. I mean, this is very personal preference, but Starship Troopers is so good.
It is a good
And
book.
again, so important in terms of groundbreaking for the genre. I mean, we wouldn't have Halo. Also, funny enough, mecha anime was inspired very heavily
Yeah.
by Starship Troopers.
I'd be surprised if Aliens didn't take from Starship
Oh yeah,
Troopers.
oh definitely Aliens. Yep. The and I'll stick with 3. I'll put Dune as the other one.
All right, yeah, I like that.
So there you go. I'll give you those 3 of 1984, Starship Troopers, and Dune would be my 3
It's like
recommendations.
some of the
there.
heavyweights.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, usually they don't. They usually don't. What was I trying to say? I don't even remember now. There we go. But yeah. I mean, for me, it's like Martian Chronicles is up there.
Mm.
Brave New World's in there.
Mhm.
Which I actually think is a scarier dystopia than 1984. But anyway. I like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, though the like sci-fi is very soft. I love that book so much.
That's funny because that fits more into probably what you would call popcorn sci-fi on
Yeah,
a certain level.
it is. It is like, but like I do think there are like genuine speculations about human nature and like the universe and life universe and the everything as the books would put it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It is very campy. I'll give you that.
Hmm. Definitely.
I think that I'll stick with those. A Philip K. Dick book. I'll put one out there.
Sure.
At least try one of his stories at one point in
There
your
we
life.
go. And we've already talked about it through this whole episode, but I will just throw the Forever War.
I thought you were gonna bring that up, but I was like, I didn't want to like go like, you didn't bring up the Forever War. Must not be a true fan.
Especially if you read Starship Troopers and Forever War, they just pair so well together.
They're like a double
they're
feature.
Kind of two sides of the same coin in a lot of ways.
They're like the double feature.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's about it. This has been the 11th episode. I'm kind of surprised we made it this far because like it's kind of hard sometimes to get people into the fold. But thank you, Thomas, for hanging out with me for a while.
You're most welcome. Thank you for hosting. And if there are any other sci-fi geeks out there, come on this show. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, just have opinions about sci-fi, and we'll get together. There you go.
Perfect.
But as I like to do before I end any of these sort of chats, if you have any social media, feel free to share them.
Sure thing. Of course, the big one for me is going to be my YouTube channel, which is also called Thomas Writes. It is, in many ways, like we talked about Philip K. Dick, my channel is very scattershot. I talk about books, I talk about movies, I talk about games, just any kinds of sci-fi that I'm interested. I do a lot more longer form, kind of more video essay style. And so if you're interested in that, check that out. I'm also on Twitter and on Instagram, which you can find on my About page on my YouTube channel. So check it out.
Yeah, check out Thomas. He's good people. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And until next time, whenever that's going to be, State of Science Fiction.
See ya.